Hey, 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 you know what day it is. What day is it? It's Tuesday, T with D. Tuesday, T with D. Tuesday, T with D. Tuesday, T with D. It's Tuesday, T with D. 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 Hey, boo, hey, it's your girl, Detra Trueheart, your life purpose generator, purpose provoker, your personal life coach, here with part two of our conversation from last week. But listen, I'm here with the Tuesday Tea with D. This is your weekly serving and dose of tea. And so this week, we are back with the pomegranate green tea, honey. The pomegranate is pomegranating, and the tea is teaing, the honey is honeying, and the lemon is lemoning, okay? And it is so good. And so I'm just going to jump right in really quickly because I'm really excited about what I have to share with you to continue this conversation from last week. And so if you missed last week and maybe you're just finding me here on YouTube, or maybe you found me from Instagram or TikTok or Facebook or LinkedIn, where I'm posting all the things, welcome right to my YouTube channel for one. And for two, make sure you subscribe. Number three, make sure you are liking the videos. Number four, make sure you are commenting and letting me know what you are thinking. And number five, make sure you are sharing it with 5 people so that they can listen, so that they can get this weekly tea. Okay. We are helping folks get out of their own way so that they can show up as their highest and best self. And more importantly, so that they can stop settling, right? Get unstuck so that they get started, and so that they can show up as their highest and best self, right? Specifically for themselves in the same way that they show up for others. So with that being said, the next thing that I want to say is go back and check out the first part, right? So we're talking about 10 reasons why you are inconsistent. And so I shared the first 5 last Tuesday, and this week I'm sharing 6 through 10. But before I even do that, you know what I'm about to share, because we are officially less than 40 days away from iSpeaklife Live, honey. And if you do not have your ticket, I don't even know what you're waiting on. Like, what can I just say? What in the world are you waiting on? This is my 3-day transformational spirit-led experience for the high achieving, purpose pursuing woman of faith who is ready to unplug, rediscover her dreams, anchor her faith, and reconnect with herself and with God. And honey, if that is you, you need to go to iSpeaklife.com in order to get your ticket. And I'm going to put this scroller down at the bottom so that you are clear on where you need to be going. Let me just tell you, like, it's going to be phenomenal. God has really been stretching me. And so when I'm being stretched, honey, you already know when you show up in the room, you're going to be stretched. But let me just tell you that I Speak Life Live, if this is your first time hearing about it, maybe you've not heard me talking about I Speak Life Live on any of my social media platforms, or maybe you just happen to find me here, through YouTube, right? And so this is your first time hearing about it. This is my 3-day event that I'm hosting December 1st, 2nd, and 3rd of this year in Niagara Falls, New York. And this is the event that I created for women who pour out, but very rarely, seldom take time to allow themselves to be able to pour back into. And so I want you to be in a space where you are creating time, that you are making time, not only for you, but for yourself to unplug, for yourself to take some time to rediscover and reacquaint yourself with your dreams, to make sure that you are anchoring, accelerating, and activating your faith. And most importantly, so that you are reconnecting with yourself and with God. Like, sometimes we need to reconnect because we've been connecting and showing up for everybody else. We need to do that for ourselves. So I want you to go to iSpeaklife Live to get more information, iSpeaklife.com to get more information and to register, because I want to see your face in the place. Okay. So now that we've talked about iSpeaklife Live and how you're going to go get your ticket and you're going to plan to be with me for 3 days in December, let's jump into today's conversation around the 10 reasons why you are inconsistent. And so today's conversation is going to be really juicy, as well as last week's conversation, simply because I think it's going to be an eye-opener for you as it relates to certain things that maybe you have been missing, or certain things that you may have not been paying attention to. And sometimes we just need somebody to kind of point some things out to us, because sometimes we just don't know, right? And I'm actually going to talk about that. So last week we talked about the first 5 reasons why you're inconsistent would include you having no discipline, you're focused on too many things, focused on the wrong thing, not focused at all, and you have no boundaries, right? This week, and let me just take a little drink of this good old tea before we get started. So good, y'all. So good. Do a little like this, And so number 6 is you have no clear plan or strategy. No clear plan or strategy. And so what that looks like is, because you kind of just wake up and go with the flow, you may not be as consistent as you want to be, because you kind of get it in where you fit in, right? Or you fit in where you can get it in. So if you're writing a book and I say, how often are you writing to make sure that you get the specific amount of pages that you need to get in, so that you can finish your book in a specific amount of time. And you say, oh, well, I just kind of like, wherever I write here and there, or whenever I can find time, that's when I write. And so that might be why you're writing inconsistently. Whereas if I say, well, what would it look like for you to spend 15 to 30 minutes every day from 12 p.m. to 12:30 during your lunch break, writing without interruption, without distraction? You cut the phone off. Maybe you put the timer on. And so every day, Monday through Friday, and then Saturdays and Sundays are flex days, right? You're writing. You now have a clear plan, you have a clear strategy. And so it increases your chances of being more consistent, right? So even, for example, for me, the clear plan or the strategy was that I would get up every day, and after taking my son to school, that's when I'm going to walk. Like, I'm not leaving it to chance. I'm not saying, okay, well, whenever I'm feeling like, I'll have some time to walk, then I'm going to walk. Nope. I know every day after I take my son to school, and now it's such a routine that even when he doesn't go to school, when I wake up in the morning, I go walk, because I've built a level of consistency in what I'm doing, right? So if you say, you want to pray, or you say you want to work on a specific area of your business, like, sometimes the reason you're inconsistent is simply because you don't have a clear plan and a clear strategy around how you're going to accomplish it. And then you also don't follow through on that. And so that's why you're inconsistent. And so I really want to say right here that the things that I'm sharing are not meant to make you feel bad, right? This is a no judgment zone here. This is all grace, granting yourself grace. And sometimes you need a coach, right? Me, your coach, to be able to show you some different areas that may be the reason why you're not able to accomplish certain things that you've been wanting to accomplish. And it's not because, you're lazy or because you just can't do it. Sometimes you don't have the set skills, you don't have the strategy, you don't have the tools, you don't have the plan in place in order to do it consistently, to be able to see traction, right? So then number 7 is you don't trust yourself to follow through. There is a lack of confidence, right? So you don't believe in yourself, right? And so you talk yourself out of it, you self-sabotage, you overthink, you procrastinate. And so all of that leads to inconsistency, because you don't move consistently, right? You don't move on a consistent basis. And so if you're not moving on a consistent basis, and you don't have the confidence to be able to do a thing that that you're capable of doing, then you're not going to do it. And that leads into, and I'm going to skip one for a second, that leads into you starting and stopping. So maybe not having discipline, which is what we talked about last week, or maybe even not having boundaries. This leads to you, and I talked about this last week, you starting and stopping. So this is another reason why you're inconsistent, is because you start and you stop, right? And so, like, for me, I'll just use myself as an example again. The reason why I would start and stop, I started walking, I want to say in 2021, and I was doing really good over the summer. And then it started getting really, really cold. And I didn't have a plan B. I didn't really know like what the strategy was going to be once it started getting cold outside. And so for me, the distraction, because here I have, you start and you stop and you let distractions derail you. And so the distraction for me was the weather. And so if it got cold, if it snowed, if it rained, I wasn't going outside, and I technically couldn't walk inside. And so I didn't really have somewhere else that I could go. Whereas this year was a little bit different for me, because within like the first week or two, it rained, and something in me was just like, you know what, like you can go to the mall, because I wanted to be consistent in my walk, right? And so I'm like, I gotta figure this out. And I'm like, so now my thought process was, if I can't walk outside, where can I walk? And I'm like, bet I could walk in the mall. And so that's where I've been. I don't know how many weeks now it's been at the mall. I've been at the mall probably for about a month now. It might be longer than that. And so now I'm not starting and stopping, because it would be around this time where I would stop and I would feel bad. But I'm like, dang, like, I can't, like, I don't want to walk in place for 30 minutes. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not really a big gym, kind of person. And so I love that I get a chance to go to the mall, and I get a chance to still get my steps in, still move my body for 30 minutes. And then once it starts getting warmer, I can decide whether I want to go outside or not, right? I can go to the park, I can walk throughout the neighborhood or whatever. So again, part of that is you start and you stop because of distractions. And so I would love for you to be thinking about, what are the distractions that cause you to start and stop, right? And so we talked about that last week. It could be like the disruptions in your office at work. It could be disruptions at home. It could be anything, right? Depending upon what the goal is, right? And so identify your goal and then identify the distractions, right? And it could be as simple as doing like a SWOT analysis. So the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats. And so, and when you look at your goal, like, what are the weaknesses in that area, right? And then what are the threats, right? What are the distractions? What are the things that could like upset like your ability to be able to accomplish that goal? If you know ahead of time, then you are better equipped to address it when it shows up. So then the next thing is, and we talked about this as well, but instead of being focused on the wrong things, you worry about all the things. You worry about the wrong things. You worry even about the right things. Like, worry has you in this space of where like you're so worried sometimes about not being able to get it done, or worried about doing it right, or worried about doing it perfect, or you're worried about all of these sorts of things, child, and you worry yourself out of action. And not only you worry yourself out of action, you worry yourself out of consistency, because you're not consistent, because you worry yourself so much that you don't even get anything done, right? And so by the time you get a chance to get it done, then you start worrying again about something else, right? And so when I find that I have clients like that, we kind of do a deep dive around where that comes from, what it is that they're worried about. And really it stems from fear. Sometimes there's confidence issues, insecurity, that sort of things. A lot of times it's people pleasing. So you're worried about what people are going to think. So because you worry about what people are going to think, then you don't get started. Or you start and you stop and you start and you stop, because 1 minute you're good, but then somebody says something or something happens, and now you worry again, right? About them, worried about the wrong things, right? And so then the last thing that I want to share about this is, maybe you don't really know what it looks like to be consistent in the things that matter, or in what it looks like to move the needle forward in your life. And let me say this. Sometimes we really don't know, right? And so I'll use myself as an example. I don't have any issues being a guinea pig, and I've had, even just when I'm talking to clients or talking to people in my community, even like, for example, around like, people say, I really want to grow spiritually, or I want to be able to pray, in a greater capacity. And some people really don't know that the way you get better at praying is by praying. Like, they don't know what it really looks like to be consistent in that area. Like, there's a blind, innocence or an ignorance. Like, you're not ignorant because you just like, I'm not doing it and I don't want to know. It's literally like, I didn't know. Like, sometimes your inconsistency is just, you don't know that you don't know. You don't know that you really have to just start out praying, that you have to create a plan and a strategy, that maybe you'll start out tomorrow. You'll set the timer for 5 minutes. You'll pray for 5 minutes, maybe for the next I don't know, 7 to 14 to 21 days, right? And so as you feel led to extend that from 5 minutes to 10 minutes to 15 minutes, then you start to get a rhythm and you start to be more consistent with praying, right? And so even like with me with the walking, the more I do it, the better I get at it. But as I was going to say in the beginning, with even for me with my business, there are some things that I didn't know that I had to be consistent at, right? And so I learned and still learning around, paying attention to analytics. And analytics really is like, how many people are opening my emails, how many people are clicking on the links of my emails, how many people are consistent at opening my emails. And so by me, if I see like over a period of time that a certain number of people are not opening my emails, then I delete them. Right. But if I'm not paying attention to that, then I've got people on my list who really don't want to be there, but they're also taking up space because they're not reading the emails. Right. Or even paying attention to, how often I'm showing up in a particular area of my business, or how often I'm really spending time with God. If I say if I feel like I want to go a little bit deeper with Him, but then I'm taking some time to assess, right? I'm pulling over, I'm assessing before I get back on the road. Like, well, what does that look like? How much time am I? Like, what am I currently doing? And what do I need to be doing in order to go deeper? And am I doing that? And so sometimes you just don't know what it is that you don't know in order for you to go deeper or to do or accomplish what it is that you want to accomplish, because you just don't know. And so then you're inconsistent in a particular area simply because you don't know you got to be consistent. You don't know you should be following up. You don't know that it is okay to say no. You don't know that it is okay to be able to set boundaries around X, Y, and Z. You don't know that you can actually set it to automatically do, like, set automation, even like on your savings. And so every 2 weeks, maybe you don't know that you actually can go to the bank and they can just pull it out without you even knowing. Like, there's some things that we don't know. And I think it's okay that we don't know. Right. And so, again, there's no judgment here. Again, this is a grace space. Right. So grant yourself grace. But again, I just think that sometimes we're inconsistent because we just like, it's something that we've never been exposed to. And so we don't know we have to be consistent at it in order to gain traction. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that's important too. And I wanted to close out with that because sometimes it's not that you're, maybe, yes, it has to do with focus, and yes, it has to do with you worrying about, certain things or whatever. And it may have to do with discipline, but sometimes you're not disciplined because you're just not disciplined. You're not disciplined because you don't really know what you should be disciplined at. You don't know what the focal areas are. And so I wanted to bring that to your attention, because if there's some things that maybe you didn't know, you know what I mean? Like, man, like, I didn't know that I had to do X, Y, Z. Like, a lot of people say, I really want to grow closer to God and I really want to develop that relationship. But, all they do is go to church. So they're not reading their Bible. They're not studying their Bible. They're not praying. They're not getting in community where they can ask questions. All of that kind of stuff you have to do on a consistent basis in order to grow spiritually. And so if you're not doing that, that's one thing. But if you don't know to do it, that's a totally different thing. And so, like they say, once you know better, you should do better. A lot of times we're not doing better, not because we know better and we're not doing it. We really don't know. So I hope that these last 5 were helpful and they were an add-on. And so I'll read them again. Number 6 is that you have no clear plan or strategy. Number 7 is that you don't trust yourself to follow through. You lack confidence, right? Number 8 is you start and stop. And so you let distractions derail you. Number 9 is you worry about all the things and you're worried about the wrong things. And then number 10 is maybe you really don't know what it looks like to be consistent in the things that matter most, or in the things that move the needle forward in your life or a specific area of maybe your life, business, or ministry. And so with that being said, I really want to encourage you to go back and listen to all 10 of these again and really take some time to think about what it is that you need to be doing to be more consistent in a specific area of your life. Like, where in your life do you need to be more consistent in order to accomplish or see some traction or see some progress in what it is that you desire to see results in, right? And so I'll be honest, some things you may not see immediately, right? And really, some of it is just building rhythm and routine around being consistent at it. And so you may not see the actual results for another 3, 6 months, maybe even for another year. But the question I have for you around this conversation of consistency, inconsistency, is, are you willing to be consistent long enough to be able to look back and say, you know what, like, at least I know I've been, like, if I'm not seeing results, I know that I've been consistent. And so you get a chance to decide at whether it's 3, 6, 9, 12 months. Like, I've been doing this for a while and I haven't really been able to see whether or not it's working. Like, I've been sowing seeds, but I'm not necessarily sure like when this thing is going to start, blossoming. And here's the thing, sometimes if it's like an oak tree, as I said last week, the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. You may not see it for some time. You may not see the results for another year or another 6 months or whatever. And so, are you willing to be consistent long enough to sow the seeds to see the harvest from the seeds that you have sown over time? It is not going to be overnight results. But I think the other part is sometimes it really is just about building character and discipline in you, because this will help you in the long run. Like, there's some things that I'm doing now in my business that I may not necessarily see the fruit of until maybe a few years down the line, because I'm implementing and setting up systems and automation and structure, so that as my business grows and as different areas of my business evolve, I'll be able to say, wow, like, I'm so glad I did that like 2 years ago, because guess what? Now that I'm ready to step into this thing, I don't have to worry about it. And so there are different types of, aspects of consistency that matter, because it's not necessarily about the result now, it's about how it contributes to where you're going to be later. Okay. So, with that being said, I want to again make sure that I share with you that you register for iSpeaklife Live. I'm going to put this up again. I'm going to close out with this so that you know that you need to have your face in the place. I want you to go to iSpeaklifelive.com, iSpeaklifelive.com in order to get your ticket. I want you to make plans to be in the room. I want you to go on ahead and put your PTO in right now, simply because you've got less than 40 days to get in the room. And so you have more than enough time, if I can just say so myself, to make sure that you have time, unless you didn't use all your time, child. Now, if you didn't use all your time, then that's a totally different conversation. But if I know you like I know you, you got more than enough time, because you have not been using your time. And so go on ahead, take off Friday, take off Monday. Yes, you're going to need Monday to debrief from all the juiciness that we're going to experience on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And just make plans to be there, right? Even if you live in the area, make plans to get you a hotel room, book your room. We have negotiated a really good rate for you. And so you don't want to wait to the last minute for that, because I think the rooms, the block expires, I think it's November 10th. And so you want to go on ahead and reserve your room now, and just, prepare yourself to get into a space where this new season and this new shift that you're looking for, and that is upon you, that this time that you're going to spend not only with me and the women who are going to be in the room, but you're going to be able to take some time to spend and focus solely on you. And here's the thing that I love about iSpeaklife Live is that, we might talk a little bit about all of the things that you do, but it really is in relation to the fact that while you're doing all of this stuff for everybody else, you very rarely are doing the same thing for you. And so these 3 days gives you an opportunity to really sort out what it looks like to really start putting you at the top of the totem pole, to start putting and considering you at the top of that checklist of things that you have to do, right? Making sure that you're just as much as a priority as everybody else. And so again, I want you to be in the room. I want you to go to iSpeaklifelive.com, iSpeaklifelive.com to get in the room. If you've never been to a 3-day event of mine, I just want to promise you that your life really is going to be different when you leave. It is not like you've experienced anything you've experienced before. I can promise you that. And the reason I can promise you that is because God is going to meet you there. and the experience and the time that he wants to have with you is going to be nothing like you've experienced before. And so this is a personal invitation for you to join me December 1st, 2nd, and 3rd for I Speak Life Live, for you to unplug, reconnect with yourself and God, accelerate and activate and anchor your faith. And most importantly, for you to rediscover and maybe even go back and reassess your dreams, right? There's some things that maybe you've forgotten about, some things that maybe you need to tap into again, that maybe you've forgotten about because you've been so busy helping other people, discover their dreams and step into their stuff. And so now is your time, right? This is your time to focus on you, to focus on hearing from God, to hear from, to get clarity on some things, to focus in on some things. And that's it. Like, I could keep going on, but I won't. I just want you in the room. I want you to go to iSpeaklifelive.com, iSpeaklifelive.com, in order to get your ticket and plan on being there. And if you enjoyed this week's tea, I want you to subscribe to the YouTube channel, share it with 5 people, click the link once it's live, share it with 5 people. And I want you to comment, let me know what you think about this week's conversation, and also make sure you like the video. Okay. And so with that being said, I will see you next time on Tuesday Tea with D. Tuesday Tea with D. Tuesday Tea with D. Tuesday Tea with D.